So my name's Chaz Davis, and I worked with Nick for years up at the Oregon Caves. I was the head guide, he was one of the guides, and Jeff was the general manager, and Nick was a really good friend of mine. I started working at the caves in 1981. I knew some folks up there in 1980, and some of the people here I see worked in 81. Anyway, I was a head guide back in 1984, and Nick was a guide. And I noticed something happening in the cave. I noticed ice. After it got really cold outside, it was wet in there. We had a lot of ice in the cave. And I thought, you know, that ice is destroying the formations. And it was destroying the formations in the second, third, fourth rooms of the cave. Paradise Gardens.
Prehistoric.
No.
Petrified.
Petrified.
But we're all ex-guys.
So at any rate, so I figured that the ice in there was destroying the formations, and I told the ranger, our ranger up there, Ted Davis, that, you know, I ought to go get some thermometers, put them in the cave, and take some temperatures. And then I forgot about it. And 2 weeks later, and this was in December of '83, 2 weeks later, in January of '84, Ted goes, where are your thermometers? So I went to Weimar, Grants Pass, and for $15, I bought 12 thermometers. They were the indoor, cheap thermometers. Put them in the cave, started taking temperatures. And Nick took temperatures, and the first thing I learned was that the same process that destroys formations destroys cheap thermometers. So I had to replace most of my thermometers with freezer thermometers from the hotel walk-ins and freezers. Took temperatures for 3.5 months, gave all that data to the government, and I told them in so many words that the biggest source of damage to this park over the last 50 years has been the government. Because they built tunnels in the 1930s, and those tunnels rerouted freezing airflows, and those airflows destroyed the formations. And when they built those tunnels and large passageways in the cave, they created a lot of rock, they generated a lot of rock. They didn't haul that rock out of the caves, they stashed it in side rooms and passageways, walled everything up. And that was channeling the airflows. Plus you couldn't see what was in the cave because of all the rubble. So this kind of upset the government because their job was to protect the cave. And they had, besides the temperatures I took hundreds of pictures in the cave. Lots and lots of pictures. I ruined my wife's camera, as a matter of fact, in there. I took all these pictures, and then I got a job over at Crater Lake as a lodge manager. On March 1st, 1985, I moved over to Crater Lake to work as a lodge manager. And before I left, I asked Nick and Wayne Halverson back there to get a picture of ice on this one formation. I had pictures of the formation before and after the ice destroyed it. As a matter of fact, I was able to take the pieces of the formation and put it all back together. And I needed a picture, I needed a smoking pistol, I needed a picture of the formation with ice on it. And they did. Wayne and Nick went into the cave and they got a picture of that formation with ice on it. And late March of 1985, one of the rangers, the same ranger Ted, told me that the government was thinking about dumping the park. They had to consider their options. And one of them was to decommission the park. Another one was to turn it over to the state. And the third option was to restore it. So I was working at Crater Lake at the time. And I had the pictures. And I was up in Kevin Maloney's office, which has the nicest, most beautiful view in the world. You know, it was actually this really messy office. And if you remember the Watchman at Crater Lake, it was the same view as the Watchman. And so I had this information and I had the pictures, and I placed a call to the deputy director of the park, deputy regional director of the park, of that region, the Pacific Northwest region. And I said, Bill, I got the goods on you. And it was because of Nick's picture. And wait, back there. So So that's my story about